of the African bush, which is of course a perfect big cat weather. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to a soggy sunrise safari. Hey, that's wonderfully alliterative. A soggy sunrise safari. You are live on a safari from the middle of the African bush. My name is Jamie, and this morning I have Dave on camera with me, and we're heading out to see what exciting things we can find for you after a night of a little pitter-patter of rain. We're here on Juma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And because we are live, that means that you can talk to us, which is of course a crucial part of the show, because otherwise we'd just be driving around gabbering away to camera and it would feel very, very odd. So you can talk to us, you can ask your questions, and you can send through your comments, and you can do that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. So, for example, if you wanted to say, Jamie, you're an idiot, why didn't you put the roof on the car? You could do that in that way. Why didn't we put the roof on the car, Dave? Didn't feel like rain.
No, we don't need it.
It didn't. We don't need it. Ah, we're fine. We can ignore the drizzle. We've got rain covers. Luckily, though, we weren't complete nincompoops, just half nincompoops, because we put one roof on one vehicle. So FW does have a roof on. FW and Brian will stay nice and dry, or at least Brian will. Dave, you on the other hand are going to get wet.
Yep.
Sorry. And my idea of going to Cheetah Plains and Chitwa, that has been scrapped. We're not going to be going there just at the moment, unless because we might have to go back and get the roof. Oh dear, oh dear. Let's see if we can hold out until James is out on bushwalk, and then we'll be ready to go. You see, it's not an easy job. It's a sort of a 4-person job, that, getting the roof on and off. Originally it was going to be a 2-person job, but not when you're my height. It's definitely not a 2-person job when you're my height, because I can't reach both poles. Oh, yesterday on the Sunset Safari I was confined to the tent, which is very exciting. I always loved playing the tent and the skulls and the things, but it is lovely to be out in the bush once again. We're going to go and look for the Queen of Juma, I think that's my plan. Oh my goodness me, well, somebody's on the ball this morning. I think it's time to send you over to FW so that he can say good morning and show you what he's found.
Good morning, everyone. Look at those beautiful lions, and it looks like it's the Nkuhuma pride. I've seen 4 adult females and all the babies. My name is FW, and on camera with me I've got Brian and the Thumb. Brian, who's the Thumb this morning?
Oh, it's a squiggly face because I think I'm getting sick.
Well, I wanted to say awesome, but it's probably not awesome that you're getting sick. Yeah. These lions are up and about. A lot of playing and calling going on. I wonder who else is, if they've got a male with them. Oh, and they're going in the right. Did you? Oh, that lioness that's sharpening her claws. At first she tried to jump into the tree, and then broke a branch. Broke a branch off. Shame. As soon as this one that's right in front of the vehicle moves, we'll get closer to the rest of them, but we'll have to give her a bit of time to just decide what she wants to do, or wait for the others to come towards us. I don't want to push her off and then get to the others. William, I think you're on the money there. That they might look quite hungry. Yeah, it looks like it. Hopefully they'll bump into something shortly. Maybe today, maybe tonight. Maybe this weather's good for them. This nice clouded weather will keep them on the move for a bit longer before it gets warm. If it does get warm today at all. Oh. All the siblings decide to join the fight. Mum, now it's your turn to be bullied by all three of us. Bree, you're asking if there are any green leaf clovers around. I don't think so. No, it's just been some good luck that we've been having. All the animals wanting to show themselves to us, so we won't complain. We'll take it as it comes, as long as it keeps coming. And yeah, just enjoy spending time with all these great creatures out here. It has decided to start raining a bit harder now. Lovely. Where's that other female gone? I have seen 4 of the adult lionesses, and I can see 5 cubs at the moment. There's some still in the bush. There's one coming out. I think, is that number 4, number 5 of the lionesses. So one of the cubs also trying to climb a tree there. I think it's come down. No, it's still silly thing. Wonder what they're gonna do today. Rain's coming down nicely. Lioness, it's just walked past her. She's on her way back. There we go. You gonna have a bit of a greeting ceremony, or is she just gonna walk past? Nah, just gonna walk past. Not interested in saying good morning again. She's done it already. What a way to start the morning. 5 minutes in and we're sitting with our big cats already. Yeah, these cubs are growing rapidly at the moment. Time for them to get strong, get healthy, and then really make this pride a nice large pride to take control of. Well, I suppose they are in control of this area, but just make it more successful than it is already. So Hector, you'd like to know when these male lion cubs will start showing their manes, you'll already start seeing a bit of it here and there, but you have to have a close look. When you can see it easily, I think it's from about 8 months to a year, then you'll start seeing it very easily, and then they just overshoot the little females as well. They just get bigger a lot quicker. So let's work around 8 months to a year, then it becomes easy to distinguish between the two of them, between the male and females. Now I think at this stage it's just a little bit of extra fluff around the neck. So Mary Ann in Texas, I have seen white lions. I haven't seen the white lions of the Timbavati yet, but in the Kruger National Park around Satara, it's in the central part of the park, there's also a white lion, and I saw one on the Singita Lebombo concession there a couple of months ago. I've got it's a spider web. Yeah, so I've seen them. I just saw the one, a young male. Yeah, quite special to see. Looks kind of odd in the beginning, and then you kind of get used to it. But it is nice to see. You know, the scary thing with these open systems is that gene might end up getting here. You'd never know. I mean, they were first found in the Timbavati, but you never know where it's going to end up. And it doesn't need to come from a white lion. So it's a recessive gene that will get spread by normal tawny colored lions as well. And if, let's say, there's a male coalition that comes in from that side of the park, and we're not far from there, from that Satara area, and pushes into the northern Sabi Sands, you might get that gene pop up in the site. So it's something to keep an eye out on. You never know, you might get a surprise. There's lion calling in the distance. I wonder if that's not the 5th lioness. It's calling from further north, trying to get these ones' attention. All the adults, all the lionesses are looking intently to the north at the moment. It's either a contact call or whoever is roaring is extremely far, because you can just hear that. Not much else. Well, let's try and figure this out. We're going to spend some more time with these lions. But in the meantime, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
In the meantime, I am busy searching for the Queen of Juma to see whether or not after we left her, after we last saw her, she's managed to make a kill. She was looking hungry when I last saw her and was definitely was definitely on a mission to try and find something for herself and for her cubs to eat, and she was somewhere around in this direction. And because it's raining, we're kind of flying blind this morning. We've basically just got to hope that she's somewhere quite close to the road. It's impossible to see tracks on this damp soil. But while we go along, I thought I'd tell you the tale of what I discovered yesterday evening when I got home. FW and I made a grievous error yesterday. We made a grievous error in that we got complacent, and guess what we did? We left a window open. What shouldn't you do out here in the bush? Leave anything open. So I arrived, pulled into the driveway yesterday evening in the dark, and was just assailed by the scent. And anybody who's worked in the bush or lived in South Africa will be familiar with that scent. It is a very pungent, sort of wet animal-ish, I don't quite know how to describe it, quite vegetable smell. Combined, I don't know, it's a horrible smell. Anyway, so I knew what was coming, but I went into the lounge regardless and had a look at the trail of destruction, along with a pile of excrement piled up outside the door. So the baboons had got in. The baboons had scattered everything from the top of the roof to the floor, across the room. There were 2-minute noodles, so instant noodles, absolutely everywhere. Brent's going to be devastated when he gets back. Every single packet of 2-minute noodles is gone, and there are some very happy baboons somewhere around here with some very full bellies. The rain is getting harder, Darby. Don't know if you've noticed. Yes, you have. You're acting like a windscreen there. Windscreen wiper, not a windscreen. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so the 2-minute noodles scattered everywhere. Our wonderful Christmas toy, the one with the Velcro ball. You got the 2 Velcro pads and this fluffy ball that you catch on the Velcro pads. That's in pieces, I'm afraid. I don't know why they wanted to chew that, but they did. They chewed that. Luckily your lilo is safe, Dave. Your blow up pool accompaniment is safe. They didn't do anything to that. They then grabbed a bottle of beer. They enjoyed that. So somewhere out there were some slightly tipsy baboons, perhaps falling out of trees. And all in all, they basically wreaked havoc and then defecated on my balcony just as a final parting shot. So there you go. Don't ever get complacent. Don't be naughty. Don't leave one window open, because the baboons will come. You don't know when, you don't know how, but they will be there. And now they have, and I looked at it last night, and I have to confess I was not feeling up to the cleanup operation, so I picked up what little I could, then just shut my eyes and went to bed. I'll do it today. I will face it today. But I just couldn't last night. I sent FW a message and just said, listen, I'm sorry. Don't worry about it, we'll sort it out tomorrow. Anyway, so that's the tale of woe. Yeah. I can't believe I made that mistake. It's because the baboons haven't been brave enough to come through. And Steph, you say now there is a baboon with a hangover somewhere. Absolutely, particularly if it's a tiny little baboon, if it's a young baboon, it's going to be feeling a little bit the worse for the wear, and perhaps that will be a lesson to marauding baboons. That pounding headache is because you went and stole stuff from the human beings. I can just imagine the baboon sitting there going, why do they do this to themselves? Why? What is it all for? Excuse me. Right, I'm going to do a slow but steady circle back towards home. We're not going to make it, Dave. We're going to have to go back for the roof. Oh dear, oh dear. I thought we were being so clever. Clearly not. Clearly we've made a poor decision. Well, such is life. The rain is good. Michael, you want to know if we've ever had anything like that happen with guests or volunteers with baboons and monkeys? Many times. It is utterly hilarious when it happens, unless you're the person in the cleanup operation, which invariably you are, so it's actually not that funny. One very memorable, where I used to work before this, one very memorable occasion, we had the windows of the kitchen were all open, but they were netted with a sort of very fine netting, so nothing could get in through there, but somebody had left the door open, and there was a monkey sitting on the shelf, and there was a whole series of glass jars with cereal in it. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. Just let it go onto the floor. Glass everywhere, cereal everywhere. So now you're thinking, okay, now I've got a panicked monkey trapped in a corner, and he's got glass. So I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should just go out. So I walked out, I came back in, he's still sitting there with the next glass in his hand, next jar in his hands. Smash. He did it 3 times. 3 jars of cereal scattered, glass everywhere, cereal everywhere, and cereal is a serious pain to pick up with glass. It was thoroughly entertaining. We've had monkeys and baboons steal stuff from guests before, run outside with shoes and socks. Shoe was the memorable occasion that I'm thinking of. And of course, where I used to work before this, I had Lexi, my Weimaraner. Now, as some of you might know, Weimaraners are bred to be hunting dogs. Now, of course, Lexi's never been used for hunting. She does track rhino like an absolute dream, but she's never been used for hunting, but she does have that instinct. And when there are monkeys or baboons in camp, she goes absolutely insane. She will bounce on her hind legs. She's quite silent, but she just bounces on her hind legs around the tree for ages and ages. She caught one once and panicked and dropped it because she had no idea what to do with it. I don't think she doesn't really have an attack desire. She's caught nyala before and she's caught monkeys before, and she just lets them go in this utter state of panic. Alrighty, we're gonna go race home and pop our roof on and bear the ire of those in camp that have to help us. While we do that, let's head over to FW and his lions.
So there are 2 males here as well, and the 5th lioness is with the male at the back. I think he's trying to mate with her, but she's not receptive yet. She's been snarling at him every time he tries to get close. We'll move a bit closer to them now, as these ones give us space. Let's cruise a bit closer. I wonder which 2 males are with them. Hey. Maybe there's 2 lionesses in East that this male is also interested in. Doesn't look like these ladies are having any of these stories this morning. Marking his territory, just scratching his feet. He didn't urinate at all. Lisa, welcome to the show. Are we not scared that these cats will come after us? Lisa, no, not at the moment. They all look quite laid back and relaxed with our presence. If they do become unhappy with us, this male is really trying to keep this female away from the other ones, trying to keep her to himself. But yeah, no, I don't think we've got any problems at this stage. Now he's urinating a bit on that bush. I think we're good. If they do show any signs of not being happy with us, we'll give them space. We'll just create more distance between us and them and let them do their thing. Joe 2P. I don't think the Nkuhuma pride is the largest pride in the Sabi Sands at the moment. I think there might be 1 or 2 other prides that might be a little bit bigger than these guys. I mean, there are 5 lionesses and 6 cubs, so that's 11. The 2 males, we've got 13 then. One pride in the southern parts of the park, I think, is 16 strong at the moment. So yeah, no, definitely not the biggest, but they're up there. They're good contenders. If these males are successful at mating with the females and we get 4 or 6 new cubs, then we might tell a different story. But for the moment, I don't think they're the biggest yet. So I think everyone's a bit well, not confused, but wondering who these males are with them. And Liz is saying it might be Tinyo and Mfumo. So I couldn't see the other one. I know Mfumo's got that cut under his eye. I haven't seen that on this one, so I unfortunately can't identify these lions yet. I don't know. I don't think I've seen all the Birmingham males, so I can't tell you who they are. If there are any identifying features on any of the males that we can try and have a look for, that'll be great if you could send that through. Remember the hashtag on Twitter, Safari Live. This rain is amazing. It's amazing what these cubs will find to play with in that little stick, and they'll all fight for it, try and keep it to themselves. Not having it. It's so entertaining looking at these babies. Oh, everyone's joining in. So Pam in Arizona, why are these lions not wanting to jump on the vehicles like the cheetahs do in some other parts of Africa? I don't know. I don't think, maybe those cheetah have been habituated to do so, and also maybe they, in those open areas of East Africa, they use the vehicles as a vantage point, so they jump up and use it to see if there's any game around. I don't think the lions would do the same. I don't think they need it, and I personally would not allow a lion to come sit on my bonnet or try and get onto my roof to just relax there for a bit. Yeah, that's a bit too close for comfort, I would say. Lions are scattered all over the place. I think there's still one lioness behind us, hiding behind a bush here, and all the others all over the place. One of these cubs stalking the other cubs. No, it's just decided to play hide and seek behind a little bush. Tamsin and Michael, unfortunately these male cubs would get kicked out in a couple of years from now. As soon as they're big enough and they start showing interest in the females, these Birmingham boys will kick them out, chase them off, which isn't a bad thing. It's good in the sense that the gene pool of the Nkuhuma pride and the Birminghams would be spread further across the Kruger National Park, and by the looks of things this is a successful pride, and if the success could go further afield, why not? I think it's just, yeah, the sad part is it becomes quite a tough life for these young males when they're not with the pride anymore. They become nomads, they're not wanted anywhere, so they're always on the move, always hiding from everyone, trying not to bump into any of the other lions. And we must really hope that they do. See that tail sticking out? So yeah, we really need to hope that they've learnt well from their mothers and got the ability to hunt. Otherwise a lot of their food is going to be scavenging. They're going to steal a lot of their food from maybe leopard or cheetah that hunted something, or animals that die naturally. So this development stage of these cubs' lives, it's very important. Michael, thank you for those identifying features. So Tinyo is this male with a darker mane that's been moving around in front of us, and he's got the scar on his lip and a half moon type of shape on his one ear. Thank you for that. And the other one you said is Mfumo. Okay, Brian, should we try and reposition, get a better view at these guys? Let's maybe first have a look at the male and the female that won their own, yeah, if they're still here. Here are these two. Trying to hide from the rain, they look quite awkward, yeah. So, Kathy in Tennessee, a very good question. You would like to know if the rain is a good thing or a bad thing for these lions when they're hunting. I might be wrong, but I think it's a good thing, because the noise that the rain makes, and especially if there's thunder and lightning around as well, it covers the sound of these lions moving, and the wet grass and the wet leaves would make a lot less noise than dry and brittle grass. So yeah, all in all, for me, they might not be happy with the rain, but it definitely helps them when they're trying to be quiet and try and find some food. Heather, I think both stages of sorry, foot slipped. I think both stages, when they're cubs and when they're nomads, life can be difficult and there's always chances of them not making it. I think the first year would be their most dangerous time for not making it, not surviving, and then somewhere in that nomad stage, when they're just not strong enough and not smart enough, and they run into a big coalition, that might be another time that is going to be quite dangerous for them. But I think the odds are relatively even, but I would lean more towards the cub stage for being more dangerous. I hope that answers your question. Some serious grooming going on there. Bit of nibbling. So, with lion behavior, and a very good question from Juma in Oklahoma is what to look for when lions are not happy with your presence. One nice thing with cats is they give you facial expression. So they'll show you their teeth, they'll kind of grin at you and look unhappy with you. And then also, every now and then you might get a growl out of them, facing towards you, projecting that towards you. And if they're really unhappy, they might even just give you a bit of a charge, take a few steps towards you with a fair amount of noise coming behind it. And then, very important, look at the tail as well. So the tail starts swinging up and down, and you can just see it's not just chasing away flies. There's intent to the tail that's swinging around. You know, okay, this cat is not too happy with me, and we'll just give it a bit more space. It's like us humans as well. All of us have a different personal space and the size of that personal space. So you can imagine standing in a long queue and you've got someone pushing you the whole time, or just you feeling uncomfortable with the person being too close to you. And the next person might not have that same feeling. He might be fine with a person so close to him. So these animals, those comfort zones will always differ as well. And it depends on the day. Like, if these males had just been in a fight, they'd be grumpy already, and they won't be as happy with us, so we'll have to give them space, and they'll let us know as soon as they're not happy with the distance that we are on. And believe me, it's not the greatest feeling when one of these things run at you making that making that noise. Carol, I think he is quite thin. You can see his backbone sticking out there, his spinal column, and his hip bones. If I'm not mistaken, there was one of these lionesses that were mating, and I wonder if she was mating with him. When they're mating like this, they forget about everything else. So they forget about feeding and trying to hunt and trying to find food, and they're just really focused on mating and getting their gene pool into the world. So yeah, that's probably the reason why he's so thin. but all of them look relatively hungry. Or maybe he's become a vegetarian. He's eating a bit of grass. So I think everyone will be very happy if they bump into a herd of buffalo and can take one down. It'll be a good meal for them. Just trying to have a look where the others are. Don't want to go back and then drive over one. So rain's coming down nicely now. Okay folks, let's try and see if we can find a better position. Have a look at these lions again. But in the meantime, Jamie's back up and out in the bush again. Let's go see what she's up to.
Back up and out, and this time fully prepared almost for the rain that is now falling, in that we have our roof on. The only other thing is that the roof appears to want to take off, Dave. It's taken a leaf out of our book and is now flapping wildly at the sides, as though it wants to actually leave the company of the car and go on a little bit of a journey somewhere else. Even though we have our roof on, we're not going to be going to Cheetah Plains, and I really wanted to because I wanted to follow up on quarantine in Nkanyeni. It would have been an opportunity to see Nkanyeni for the first time, but it's just unfortunately with all of our equipment in here and with the next television show happening on Monday, unfortunately we just can't risk the equipment. We have to be able to get home safely and without having got anything wet. I don't know how it all works, but it's all very expensive equipment and it's all safely tucked away for now, but if the rain does get harder, we will have to disappear off home in order to protect everything. So unfortunately no trips to Cheetah Plains this morning. We'll have to go there this afternoon if this rain lets up a little bit. But of course we're not going to complain, because it's wonderful to have rain in any shape or form, and it's a completely different feel this year to the ones that we've been or the way that we experienced last year's summer, where it was just boiling hot and there was absolutely no relief at all. Right, where were we? We're going to go and search for the Queen of Juma. That's what we were going to do. And I think that's what we shall do. Don't you think, Dave? I have a sneaky suspicion she's on Inyala Road North. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird random feelings that I have. Luckily for me, James, being the gentleman, has left me his rain jacket, or lent me his rain jacket, because I was thoroughly unprepared. Brent has left me an entire rain suit while he is on leave, but to say that it swamps me would be an understatement. I look a little bit like I'm drowning in the clothes themselves. So I'm not wearing Brent's rain suit, although perhaps I should, just for comic value. Perhaps this afternoon out on drive. Stop squeaking, brakes. Everything looks so pretty, but of course in weather like this, most things have a tendency to hide away, which is why I'm hoping we're going to go and find Karula on a kill somewhere. Perhaps Hyena Road. I don't think I've ever seen Karula on Hyena Road. Sorry, I'm flummoxed for a second. And Leopold's asked a very interesting question. Leopold says, what animal out here has the easiest and the hardest life out here in the bush? Sure, that is a good question. I'm tempted to say here in South Africa. Goodness, there's so many aspects to this question. I'm tempted to say I think a female. I'm thinking mammals. I'm going to scrap insects, and because insects get eaten by everything, and chelonians and reptiles. I'm going to take them out of the equation and just go with mammals. I'm tempted to say female elephant would probably have quite an easy time of things. They've got the protection of the herd for their entire lives. They're very big, they're very bulky, they've got no natural enemies. But what would have the hardest time of things? You see, the reason I'm struggling with that question is because I've taken man out of the equation. But if you put man into the equation, then that changes things completely, because then things like, oh goodness, sorry, hold on. There's too much chattering, I can't think straight. There we go, that's better. Sorry, I was listening to the Game Drive channel with half a brain. If we factor man in, pangolins, wild dogs, rhino, they all have a very hard time of things. And if you go further into Africa, lions, elephants. But if we take man out, cheetah have a very hard time of things as a species. But then, so do impala. I mean, they're on absolutely everything's menu. I also think, I'm not going to say lions, because as soon as there's a territorial takeover, then things change completely and chaos sort of reigns. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts as to which species you think has it easiest and which species you think has it the hardest. Let's stick with mammals, although at the moment the vultures have been having a pretty easy time of things. But then again, factor man in and that changes completely, because humans poach vultures. Sorry, Dave's just cable tying the next side of the roof, shackling it so that it doesn't try and fly away. There we go, that's better, Dave. No longer feels like we're going to launch into the sky. But I'm interested to hear what you think is the animal that has it easiest. I mean, it's easy to jump to the conclusion that lions do because they sleep all the time. But then when push really comes to shove, it's not that easy to be a lion out here. It's not easy to be a leopard. I don't think anything really has it easy, except maybe for a female elephant. But even then, I'm sure there's politics and drama going on that we don't even know about. What do you think, Dave?
I was going to say impala.
You're going to say impala for the hardest. I know, they do get chowed by everything, essentially. What else? Oh, that's a very, very good point from X-Ranger. In an unusual turn of affairs, the male spotted hyena has a particularly tough life. They are, of course, for those of you that are new to these live safaris, a spotted hyena male is always subservient to any female. They're also always smaller, which is very, very unusual out here. The females actually have very high levels of male hormones, which makes them bigger, and actually in the end gives them false male genitalia. But that's a good point. Male hyenas do have it pretty tough, except, I mean, whenever we see our male hyena, they look relatively intact and relatively happy. They've got company, they go playing, they play in the mud. Especially now in the drought, there's been plenty to eat, so they're not getting kicked off kills. I think it's really hard. I think you need to define the parameters of what you mean in terms of the easiest and the hardest lives. Can't even say trees, because trees get pounded by elephants, particularly in the drought. So we can't say trees. They don't have a particularly easy life. I know I said mammals. I'd say the frog in my cupboard has a pretty easy time. Sean makes a good point. A giraffe life looks relatively easy, provided there's no lions around wanting to catch them. And a big bull giraffe, for the most part, lions are going to think twice before they tackle them. They might, particularly if they're hungry or if they're quite young and inexperienced, they might tackle a big bull giraffe. But that's the point. A big bull elephant also has it easy, except that they've got to fight other bull elephants in order to reproduce. And I suppose the same applies to male giraffe as well. They've got to fight with other... Oh goodness, this is a hard question. What about a porcupine? Mate for life. Generally don't get tackled by much because most things aren't stupid enough to mess with a porcupine. It does happen. Leopards do occasionally go for them and wind up... They can kill them. But I mean, that's basically an little armored tank wandering through the bush. James said that Duiker and Steenbok always seem to be particularly on edge, dashing away at the slightest sound or provocation. Good point. So they probably do have a hard life. They do seem to be very nervous all of the time. I mean, this morning there's nothing. All things have hidden away from us. So good point, James. Duiker and Steenbok don't have it easy, particularly with the number of leopards around here. Elaine, again another good point. Hippo do have a relatively easy life, unless the drought hits, which of course is what happened now. And we saw how they were struggling, and I will never ever forget being in the Olifants, staying in Olifants camp in the Kruger, looking down over... Now Olifants River is one of the biggest rivers that we have in the Kruger. It's massive, it's very, very wide, and it was completely empty, just one or two big pools. And the hippos, it was 40 degrees, so close to 100 Fahrenheit, and the poor hippos were out and about, desperately trying to feed in the middle of the day, looking horribly thin. But typically, in a good year, yes, they have quite an easy life, lounge around in the water. There's so many factors to consider, though. If you're a bull hippo trying to fight with males for mating rights, if you're a cow hippo protecting your baby from other bulls, because male hippo do often act aggressively towards babies that are not their own. And just bear with me 1 second, I just need to listen to this. Sorry everybody, just bear with me 1 second. I'm just listening to updates from the eastern side of the world so that I can share those with you. Morning, Andrew. I'm well, thank you. And yourself? Andrew, I was just wondering if there's any updates on quarantine and in Kanyeni, what their last position was. Sorry, everybody. Last I saw Taylor was with them, they were on the reservoir, that old reservoir there. Thanks very much, Andrew. Okay, so after all that, not much in the way of updates as to where Quarantine and Kanyeni are. They are going to try and find them, but they're going to... Okay, they are going to move on. Let's send you over to James the 10th so that I can concentrate on what's happening in my ear.
Hello everybody and welcome to the tent this morning. Unfortunately, our bushwalk was scuppered by the gentle blessing that is African rain. That's an interesting shot. Rion is on camera, and I, James R.A. Hendry, am in the tent, in the hot seat, as it were. And we have a visitor here. Hello, Herbert.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Herbert is back from leave, and we'll be talking to him hopefully a little bit later. Good. Now, what we have in the tent today so far is we have the dam camera. Again, are we able to go to the dam camera? We are. There we are. Zumi, you're in charge of the dam camera, whoever you are this morning. I'm not sure who, but there you have found us an Egyptian goose that is walking around enjoying the rain. Of course, ducks filled with that very clever oil that they have in their skins. Don't leave the Egyptian goose, Zumi, please. And that's the only thing we have. There we are. Well done. And then we've also got some blacksmith lapwings there. As I was saying, geese and ducks, very waterproof, of course, because of the oil in their feathers. They're wonderful. Well done, Zumi. That's brilliant stuff. This new camera is fantastic. And yes, that is basically what's going on the dam cam there. The goose will be looking for algae, and if you look just in front and to the back of its head, on the shoreline there, you can see some of its dung. Very green dung has the goose, and that's because they eat so much algae. Good, yes, and that one just having a bit of a yawn. Fantastic. So we have the dam cam up today, and then we also have the microscope, which all of you will know. I have some grass under there at the moment. There we go. I think this is probably some grass that Jamie showed you yesterday. I will go and find some others, various things today, and just some beautiful purple colours going on there. So that's the story there. No Ronald the Rover, I'm afraid, on account of the raininess of the day. So we'll have to go out and fossick for things and bring them back in and show you what we can find during the course of the day. We're as live as Jamie and Evia are. That's the last time I'm going to say Evia. I'm going to refer to him as Frederick Wilhelm from now on, or FW. Yes. That's a complex story that I don't wish to get into right now. And we have many things in here, so if you'd like to ask any questions, hashtag Safari Live questions at WildEarthTV. That's the best way to get hold of us. Okay, now I have some very exciting news. My exciting news is that I think, and I haven't looked myself, but I think that the stingless bees have returned. Now, if we look over there, that there was the nest of some stingless bees. And when I returned from leave, I found that the little waxy entrance tunnel there that you can see had been destroyed. How it had been destroyed, I don't know, but it looked like, well, I suppose the ghost town equivalent of a stingless bee's nest. And on account of that, I looked into it and with sadness in my heart realized that there were no stingless bees. Now, today I came to look here, and it would seem that this tunnel has been rebuilt. Now, whether that means that the bees are back or not, I don't know, but let's have a look-see. There we are. That's the tunnel. You can see, though, you see the shiny bits there. Those shiny bits are relatively fresh buildings. Now, we'll just zoom into the hole. It's a bit cold for a stingless bee at this stage of the morning, so I don't think they're going to come out right now. Anyway, maybe at some stage during the course of the day they'll come out and we'll be able to spend a bit of time with them. So that'll be quite fun. They're one of our favourite Safari Life characters, of course, and with any luck we'll be able to show them to our TV audience come Monday next year. Yes, that's what I said. TV. Come out. We have TV on Monday next week. Good. Let's head across to the Nkuhuma Pride and Frederick Wilhelm.
yeah, these lions were under this tree in front of us and just relaxing, and now they've all decided to move on, so we're gonna have to follow them. Just want to get some stuff sorted out here. Something's stuck. There we go. So yeah, all these lionesses have moved off now. Just the one male to our right. Let's quickly go around the corner and get back to these lionesses. I'll get the jacket on a bit later again. So they are moving into Juma properly now. So Scott, with the hunt and who hunts and who doesn't, all of them can hunt, but I think at this stage the females will be very happy that the males are with them. It'll help with the bigger prey species like buffalo to take down. The cubs, I think, are still too young to join in a hunt, and they'd be left somewhere or hidden somewhere. The females will go out hunt. If they do kill something, they'll come and fetch them again. These lions might walk straight past our camp this morning if they keep going in this direction. Maybe they're keen on a bit of water. Maybe they'll go to Galago Pan. Matt, your question, can two prides of lions share a territory? No, I don't think they do or can. Lionesses will have their own territories and males will have their own territories. So you might find different female prides within a male territory. So there might be 2 or 3 different female prides. But these boundaries wouldn't overlap. If the different female pride moves into another one's territory, they'll still get fought off and pushed off by the lionesses. And then yeah, sometimes they'll push in and try and gain more area to their territory, but yeah, that's just through pure fighting and trying to chase each other off. But no, they won't share the same area just because it's nice. It's survival of the fittest, so they don't want to give away any of their area or territory for no reason. Wind's blowing us around a tiny bit. I'm just gonna hold this, try and hold this, but not gonna happen. We'll make a plan. We've got the honeymoon couple coming past us, or the wannabe honeymoon couple. Mfumo is still trying, but to no avail. This female's not giving him a chance here. There's a lot of grunting coming from the front as well. I don't know, I can't see what's happening. As soon as these two decide to give us a chance, or we'll move around them shortly and go figure out what's happening. RC, I definitely think they will scent mark more during and even more so after the rain. So with this rain, their scent markings might be washed away or might get washed away, and then afterwards they'll patrol their territories quite extensively and remark everything. Just make sure that their invisible boundaries are still in place and no one else has decided to challenge them, maybe with the weak scent that that the rain has washed off. Kathy in New Hampshire, I don't know what a lion's scent. I've never smelt a lion spray. It's not like a leopard where you can smell it almost immediately. Leopard have got this almost buttered popcorn smell, but I've never smelt that with lions. Mfumo doesn't want this female to go past him. He's trying to keep her away from the other male. Now, I don't know how correct I am, but males with darker manes would be more impressive to the females. So that might be why he wants to keep her away from the other male. Tinyo has got a much darker mane than Mfumo. Hen Ruth, I think he's just growling basically to try and show dominance over her. She's growling back just as much. You can see, look at that face. She's not happy with him pushing her and keeping her away from the others. I think there might be more growls coming from her than him. Mfumo, don't get too comfy. As soon as you're going to fall asleep, she's going to give you she's going to use that chance to move off. But he'll be very aware of her movements. Anything will get him going again. I wonder, should we stay with these two males and the one lioness, or should we try and find the pride again? They've moved off quite a bit. I think they're heading for water. They were very playful the last time. I had a bit of view of them chasing each other around. I think let's stay with these ones for the moment, and then we'll go and look for those other ones in a tiny bit. Well, we decide and go and look for the other ones. Let's go see what James is up to with all his toys in the tent.
All of my toys indeed. Thank you, Frederick Wilhelm. Now, what we have here is something quite interesting flapping about in there, and I will find it for you now. I just wanted to address two quite clever questions. The first one from James Richard is, what amongst the rather impressive array of death that we have here on the shelf is still missing? James Richard, the most obvious answer to that, of course, is a lion skull. We really do need a lion skull because they're so impressive. They're so much bigger than any of the others. So that is the one that I would like the most in here. And then I suppose a complete Nyala would be quite good. A complete Nyala skull. An Impala skull slightly less mangled than that one would also be quite fun, I suppose. We've got good zebra, good wildebeest, and slightly less mangled warthog, I think, as well. But the lion really is the one that we're missing the most of. What we want, of course, are all the skulls of the animals that we see most commonly. So lions, of course, one of our hugest characters. Leopards we've got. Male leopard would be nice. And then I suppose next to the lion, a hyena skull. just for comparison. And it's always nice to compare what's going on with the skulls. Now, we had another question from Aaron while I set this particular thing up. Aaron, you wanted to know about stingless bees and how they defend themselves in the absence of a sting. Well, their main defense, of course, is to build a hive, if you like. It is a hive. Inside a cavity, either within a tree or within a termite mound, or, as happened here, inside the skull of a giraffe. And that means that they're completely inaccessible. They can close up the waxy tunnel if they want to, if they feel like they're under threat. So instead of attacking from a fairly open hive, I mean, it's not difficult for human beings to get into, say, a honeybee's hive. These are much more difficult to access. So I think that's their basic strategy. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that, but that's pretty much what it is. Now, over here, we have got an antlion. Now, there are two interesting things about antlions. I'll just show it to you like that first. This is the adult form of an antlion, and I will release it. I know it doesn't look like it's a particularly comfortable fellow, and that's because it isn't very comfortable. I'll just put it under the microscope simply because it has the most amazing little face. Look at that. Now, these things are predators, and you can see their little sharp mouth parts there. Some of them are nectar feeders, but most antlion adults are predaceous. And the interesting thing is that the larvae, of course, look absolutely nothing like this. The larvae of an antlion dig those cylindrical pits, and they kick sand up onto ants when they sort of stray past, and then they come out and grab them and suck their insides out. And that's how they become large, basically. I'll show you a picture of a junior antlion now. I'm going to take this out of here because he's looking a bit nervous, and then we'll release her. But the interesting thing is that the antlion adult, at least baby, there we go, has got no anus. Now, I mean, that's not a word you want to use very often, of course, but it's interesting here. They do not excrete any waste products at all. And then when they go and they pupate and they form that chrysalis, and eventually they come out as the lacewing, they make one very neat white pellet of dung, and that's all of their dung from their childhood. Isn't that amazing? Now let me just show you a picture of one of those. They're from an order all on their own, so they wouldn't be described as bugs or beetles or dragonflies or anything like that. There they are, and that there is what the junior one looks like. That's the larva. So what it does is it digs a pit in the soil, and with those sort of, vicious mouth parts, it flicks sand up. So an ant will come wandering along, fall into the pit, try and get out, and sort of fall back into the pit, and this thing will then kick sand up at the ant. The ant will fall back into the pit, and it'll grab it with these vicious mouth parts and suck it dry. And then eventually it turns into these rather magnificent things. And the one that we were looking at there was something called I'm just going to go back a page, because it's not on this page. We're going to go back a page. There we go. It is this one here. It's called the grassland antlion. And the way we identified it was the evenly spaced black dots on the back of the wings and the white venation in the wings. Okay, very cool. Right, we're going to continue finding interesting things out here, I hope. Jamie Patterson is with a very large antelope.
A very large antelope that all of a sudden is trotting towards us. Somewhat conveniently, they've been hiding away behind the vegetation, and they've now decided to pop out, which I think might be our first antelope of the morning, Dave. The rest of them have been all hiding away from the rain, but this rain might actually make them quite playful as they're trotting out. I wonder what startled them over there, that they're all now coming jogging back towards us. Morning, ladies, and some small gentlemen. What is up with you? Now, initially, when I first saw one very round-bellied kudu, I thought it was a pregnant kudu until I realized it was, in fact, a boy, at which point I had to scrap that theory. But there is a pregnant female, and she's going to be the one that comes onto the road first. Dave, I don't know if the roof is in your way. There, that one. She's going to pop out first. The roof is in your way. There, she is pregnant. She is very pregnant. She is going to have her little kudu calf in the not-too-distant future. And there's a little boy with his horns sticking out of the top of his head. Now, funnily enough, I was talking about the pregnant kudu that was in fact a male. Interestingly enough, with kudu, you do occasionally see females with horns, and that's very, very unusual because, of course, kudu, only the males have horns. But every now and again, something goes wrong in the genetics and the hormone balance, and a female starts to grow horns. And I've only ever seen it once. I know it happens with impala as well. I don't know. I think it happens with Inyala too. Let's see if we can reposition with our large, somewhat cumbersome roof. You have another view of the beautiful antelope. But you can, just like you get female lions with horns. Oh dear, don't startle. Hello, beautiful. Is striding across. Sorry, you don't get female lions with horns at all, do you? That's very silly. Can you imagine a female lion with horns? I misspoke there. I meant a female lion with a mane. Sorry, I'm amusing myself. A female lion with horns would be terrifying, as if she needs more weaponry. Now you're going to go and throw horns into the equation. No, I'm sorry. You get female lions, or lionesses as they're sometimes known in the English language, with manes, and you do occasionally get female kudu with horns. I've seen it once in kudu, and I know that it happens in impala and inyala as well. And it makes sense that it happens with inyala, because they are, of course, related to kudu. She's staring back. I wonder what startled them in there. It might just have been a random noise, perhaps a branch cracking or something rustling in the wind. And of course, all of these animals are a little bit more afraid on days like today. And they're also looking for shelter from the rain. Just by the way, while you were with James in the tent looking at antlions, Mike gave me an update that it looks as though Quarantina and Inkanyeni have disappeared from their last position. He hasn't picked up any tracks of them. And it seems as though, just an update that's come through now, Tandi is crossing onto Torchwood. Let's try for one last view of these kudu. Now, for our new viewers, Torchwood is a property to the east of Juma, where we do not go. We cannot go. Hello, lovely antelope. Now, of course, they're on edge. They don't know exactly where the lions are, and they certainly want to keep themselves safe. And one of the creatures that they would like to keep themselves safe from is those lions. Let's go over to FW, see what the cubs are up to.
These lions are being very silly this morning. There was a lioness in that same tree. She jumped up all the way, nearly broke the tree with her weight. And then, made a very uncomfortable landing and ran off and now hiding somewhere in a bush. I don't know where she's gone. She's somewhere to the right of us. It's nice to see these cubs so playful. It's the one thing with this weather and cooler conditions that in the early morning you still get a bit of activity out of these animals rather than them just sleeping. Jeanette, these female cubs, yes, they would stay with the pride. And on your question about interbreeding, I don't think the males will stay dominant long enough to really interbreed with them. And it does take a few generations before you really start seeing the signs of interbreeding. I think it's maybe four generations before you start seeing any of the problems, any deformities, and yeah, the gene pool will get weaker along the line, but it will take a fairly long time before the signs really become very apparent. one of the signs to look out for, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a sign for TB in lions as well, is their front legs, the elbow joint swells up exactly where that little one is scratching now. That elbow joint swells up quite a bit, it gets massive growths there. So yeah, I'm not seeing any of that with these lions, and I don't think we'll see any of that before these males are pushed out by a new coalition. The only places where you have to really worry about inbreeding is areas where there's a lot less competition for territories. Maybe some other private land that is not an open system. So an open system is something that, like the Sabi Sands, that is open to the Kruger National Park. That's an area that's about the size of Israel, so it's a massive area, and there's a lot of different opportunities for different coalitions to come in and take over. So Matt in Michigan would like to know if lions can get any illnesses from humans. Matt, I'm not 100% sure if they really can catch something from us. I don't know of anything, nothing pops up at the moment. That cub's just broken off a branch. It almost looked like it was picking a flower. Look at that. Pulled it off like an elephant. Being silly. I think the main threat with lions and diseases is from the prey that they eat. So, like from buffalo, they might get bovine tuberculosis. Another possible threat might be rabies, which they could get from domesticated dogs or something that have been bitten by something, and then if a dog runs around in these areas and the lions get a hold of it, it might make them sick. I think that's happened to a leopard in this area. How long ago is that? A couple of years ago?
No, it was recent.
Is it?
Yeah, end of last year, this year. Sindile.
Sindile. Okay. Where is he now?
He's around here somewhere.
Is it? Alright. Well, I think this is our morning to stay with the lions. We're going to stick around with them for as long as we can. But in the meantime, it sounds like Jamie's got a very wet bird.
A very damp and soggy bird, and this seems to be the pattern at the moment with our white-faced owls. On a dry day when there's no rain and therefore no roof, the white-faced owls are not in their tree. When it is raining and when there is a roof that gets in the way of the camera, then our white-faced owls return to their favourite bush willow. And one of my absolute hands-down favourite birds, it is a white-faced Scops owl. And they are roughly, to give you a sense of scale, they are probably just a little bit bigger than my hand, about 1.5 times the size of my hand. So one of our smaller owl species. Aren't they adorable? There's number 2, if you see, very sort of hidden behind the leaves, and there's number 1. I don't know why I assigned them those numbers. That doesn't make any sense. Now, the wonderful thing about the Scops owls, which they're doing at the moment, but you can't really see it from the second one, this is their standard shape. This is their I'm slightly fluffed up and slightly miserable in this weather. But that's the standard small owl face. It is somewhere between, you know what I always think they look like? Slightly woebegone academics that have been in universities their entire lives and have had to deal with the utter nonsense of students their entire lives. And that is the face my professor gave us when we didn't do the assigned work that we had to do, or the assigned reading, or we just didn't understand it. There, even that patient eye close, as though desperately praying for some patience from somewhere. That is exactly what my professor looked like when I was doing law. That's how I imagine Scops look. Disapproving, exhausted, and they've seen it all before. Especially when they're sitting soggy in the rain. Now, Tony, you want to know why is it white? Because I don't know. It's a really good question. Why is it white? I'm not sure. It isn't really all that white, is it? It's actually slightly grey in colour, and especially when it's damp. There, this is what I wanted to show you. Sorry, Tony, hold that thought. There's the second one that's all squeezed up, sharp and tall and austere. And that is the amazing shape-shifty... Oh, goodness, hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Let's turn that down again. All sharp and austere looking. That's the amazing thing about Scops owl, is that they're able to draw themselves up. Now there you go, Tony. If you look there, you can sort of see on that owl how much whiter the face is to the rest of the body. Hence the name white-faced owls. Now perhaps having a light-coloured face is a good way of being able to see in lower light, because owls will, especially the little owls, are crepuscular. In other words, they hunt in the early morning and in the late evening, when the sort of dusky half-light. So perhaps the white has something to do with the fact that it can amplify what little light is available, so that the little owls can use them. Our bigger owl species are strictly nocturnal, so there might be no ambient light at all, so perhaps it doesn't. Although a lot of owls tend to have white faces. Barn owls, Rose eagle owls, to an extent, have a slightly lighter face. It's a good question. Very, very good question. I'm wondering if there isn't a warning aspect to it as well. Brightish colours, black and contrasting black and white. And it makes no sense for a nocturnal bird to have any colour in it whatsoever, because, of course, when it's dark, there's no colour vision. Nothing can see in colour, including us. So when it's dark like that, it doesn't make sense, which is why none of the nocturnal birds that we see are brightly coloured. They all go for the more subtle approach. Mottled browns, whites, blacks, in places where they need to express themselves. So good question, Tony. Why is it white? Communication with other owls, amplification of light, all of those are possible reasons, I suppose. Gregory has raised the point that perhaps it will help to keep it cool in a hot summer. Also a valid point. Hard to imagine being too hot at the moment. It's nice and cool this morning. It's actually really lovely weather, apart from the slight dampness. Gregory, good point. White, of course, lighter colours always help to reflect light, and birds are not as good at cooling themselves down as mammals are. They can't really, like a big elephant, go and have a mud bath. They've just got to stick with the ability to pant, which they do. No, good point. I don't think it's that, but it's a possibility, and I can't dismiss it offhand. It does get very hot here. I mean, if we compare it to the little Scops owls, African barred owlets, they all have patches of white on them. And there, of course, are those little ear tufts at the top. They are not ears. There are no ears. That's not where the Scops owl's ears are. They're much lower down. And like all owls, the ears are slightly asymmetrical. They're offset at different heights as a way of ensuring that the Scops owl can really, really rely upon its hearing to figure out exactly where something is in relation to other things. So it's just an additional way of helping it get a three-dimensional view of the world that it's listening to.